The shameful retreat of the Ukrainian army from the Kursk region and the entry of Russian troops into the Sumy Oblast has become the primary topic of discussion in all global media, including commentary from experts and analysts. Everything that is happening right now in the northern part of Ukraine indicates that the flight of the Ukrainian army from the Kursk region is just the beginning of major problems for the whole of Ukraine. So, on the morning of March 13th, amid the chaotic retreat of the Ukrainian army from the Kursk region, Russian troops entered the settlement of Basovka, in the northern part of the Sumy region. As of March 14, 2025, the Russian army managed to take control of the entire northern part of this settlement. Simultaneously with this, Russian troops also crossed the border of the Sumy region near Zhuravka area. It is reported that this settlement came under the control of the Russian army on the evening of March 13th. Currently, the Russian army is developing an offensive on the Sumy region from two directions at once. Thus, Russian troops began to carry out Vladimir Putin's order, which demanded the creation of a so-called buffer zone in northern Ukraine to secure the southern borders of the Russian Federation. At the same time, the question remains: what exactly this buffer zone in the northern part of Ukraine will look like? Many reputable Russian experts, citing their own sources in the Russian military department, said that the Russian army, in order to secure the southwestern borders of the Russian Federation, would take control not only of the entire Sumy region, but also of the Chernihiv Oblast. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has officially commented on the West's proposal for a 30-day ceasefire. In particular, during a meeting with the Belarusian leader in the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin officially stated that Russia has always been a supporter of peace talks, and that Moscow currently agrees to cease hostilities. However, the Russian leader stressed that Moscow will take this step only if this ceasefire leads to a long-term and sustainable peace. In summary, Vladimir Putin explicitly hinted that Russia would consent to a cessation of hostilities for a duration of 30 days solely on the condition that Ukraine refrains from receiving military support from Western nations, as well as from mobilizing and reinforcing its military forces during this interval. Thus, Putin diplomatically put forward counter-conditions, knowing full well that the Kiev regime and its Western masters would not agree to stop the flow of weapons to Ukraine and limit the number of Ukrainian troops. Thus, it becomes clear that Putin primarily relies only on the Russian army for the complete demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. By the way, yesterday's Russian massive missile attack on military installations and logistics hubs in Ukraine once again proved that the West is still actively arming this Eastern European country, and that only decisive actions by the Russian army will allow Moscow to solve this problem once and for all. So, while the whole world was discussing Vladimir Putin's military uniform, the Russian aerospace forces, together with the missile forces, launched another massive missile attack on military installations and infrastructure facilities in the southern, central, and northern parts of Ukraine. This time, Russian missiles rained down on such Ukrainian regions as Kiev, Poltava, Sumy, Chernihiv, Zaporizhia, Dnipropetrovsk, and Odessa. It is well known that during this attack, Russia used dozens of Iskander-M ballistic missiles, as well as Kh-32 cruise missiles. At the same time, in order to overload Ukrainian and Western air defense systems, Russia has also increased the number of germanium kamikaze drones used. By the way, this massive missile attack on Ukraine has become so powerful and effective that many experts have already dubbed it Moscow's response to the recent Ukrainian massive drone attack on the western regions of the Russian Federation. Moreover, many Russian TG channels are confident that this is just the beginning and that in the next few days or even hours, Russia will deliver another crushing blow to the military installations of the Ukrainian army and NATO forces on the territory of Ukraine. Meanwhile, yesterday, in Galasaevsky district of Kiev, the Russian military destroyed a classified industrial enterprise that worked for the needs of the Ukrainian army. It is reported that this enterprise produced hundreds of FPV drones per month. In the Poltava region, in cities such as Mirgorod and Kremenchuk, Russian missiles and kamikaze drones rained down on facilities of the fuel and energy complex, parking lots for military vehicles, military warehouses, and logistics centers of the Ukrainian Army and NATO forces. In Sumy and Chernihiv regions, for an hour, Russian kamikaze drones attacked enemy targets located near the highway that leads to the Kursk and Belgorod regions. In Zaporizhia region, the Russian military dealt a devastating blow to critical infrastructure facilities. In particular, in the southwestern part of the city of Zaporizhia, Russian cruise missiles, together with kamikaze drones, hit and destroyed 2 communication stations. In the Dnipropetrovsk region, in the western part of the city of Kryvyi Rog, a Russian ballistic missile Iskander-M once again struck Hotel Druzhba. It is reported that at the time of this missile strike, there were foreign mercenaries from France, Canada, and Germany in this hotel. Unfortunately, as of March 15, there is still no accurate data on the number of victims among the so-called soldiers of fortune. Let me remind you that this is the second missile attack on this hotel. In August 2023, Russian missiles destroyed the right wing of this hotel, along with dozens of Ukrainian and NATO officers. And finally, in the Odessa region, in the port area of the city of Odessa, 2 Russian Iskander-M ballistic missiles hit a 178-meter-long bulk carrier that entered the port of Odessa under the flag of Barbados. According to the Russian military department, this bulk carrier was regularly used by the British Ministry of Defense in London's interests. Moreover, as it turned out, at the time of this missile attack, there was a large batch of various ammunition on board this bulk carrier, including British STARSTREAK surface-to-air missiles. According to numerous witnesses, about 7 powerful explosions occurred on board this bulk carrier, as a result of which the starboard side of the ship plunged into the water by 70%. Such a large number of explosions is explained by the detonation of valuable military cargo on board this ship.